The morning sun of the twin stars cast a golden light over Orbital Academy. The massive space station floated between two planets, and it was home to the best military school in the galaxy. Cadets from 12 different alien races came here to train. They came to become soldiers. They came to prove themselves. Stood alone near the window of the training hall. She watched the stars outside while the other cadets gathered in groups behind her. She could hear their whispers. She could feel their eyes on her back. She was used to it by now. She was the only human in the entire academy. They made up most of the students. They were tall beings with blue skin and 4 arms. Their bodies were strong and their reflexes were fast. They believed themselves to be the greatest warriors in the known universe, and they never let anyone forget it. A cadet named walked toward with his friends. He was bigger than the others, and his smile was not friendly. He stopped right behind her and crossed all 4 of his arms. "Look at the Earthborn," said loudly. "She is watching the stars again. Maybe she is looking for her weak little planet." His friends laughed. The sound filled the training hall. Did not turn around. She kept her eyes on the stars. Her face showed nothing. No anger, no fear, no reaction at all. This made angry. He wanted to see her upset. He wanted to see her cry or shout, but she gave him nothing. "I read your training file," continued. He walked around her so he could see her face. "Do you know what it said? It said you practice meditation, breath control, pain endurance." He laughed again. "What kind of training is that? We practice with plasma rifles. We practice hand-to-hand combat. We learn to kill." "And what do humans learn?" another asked. "How to sit quietly." More laughter. Finally looked at, her eyes were calm and dark. "We learn what we need to learn," she said simply. "What you need," leaned closer to her. His breath was hot on her face. "What you need is real training, but your species is too weak for that. Humans are soft. Humans are slow. Humans break easily." He poked her shoulder with one of his fingers. "I am surprised the academy even let you in." Did not step back. She did not blink. "I passed the same tests you did," she said. "The tests were probably made easier for you," replied. "Everyone knows humans need special treatment. Everyone knows you are here as a joke." The other cadets in the hall had stopped what they were doing. They were all watching now. Some of them looked uncomfortable. Most of them looked entertained. A female named Sora pushed through the crowd. She was smaller than, but her voice was just as sharp. "Leave her alone. She is not worth your time." "I know she is not worth my time," said, "but it is fun to remind her where she belongs." He looked back at the bottom. Said nothing. She simply turned back to the window and continued watching the stars. This made even more frustrated. He wanted a fight. He wanted to prove his strength. But the human girl gave him nothing to fight against. It was like punching water. "Fine," said. "Keep staring at your stars, Earthborn. But when the real training begins, you will fail, and everyone will see what humans really are." He walked away with his friends. The crowd slowly went back to their own activities, but the whispers continued. Heard every word. She heard them call her weak. She heard them call her primitive. She heard them say that humans were a mistake of evolution, that Earth was a planet of soft creatures who got lucky. She heard it all, and she let it flow through her like wind through leaves. This was part of her training too, the training that they did not understand. On Earth, they called it the old way. It was a method that had been developed over thousands of years. It taught humans to control their bodies at the deepest level. It taught them to slow their hearts, to ignore pain, to focus their minds into a single point of energy. Most species in the galaxy relied on technology. They built stronger weapons. They made faster ships. They created shields and armor and machines to do their fighting. But humans had taken a different path. They had looked inward. They had found power inside themselves. The academy did not understand this. The instructors had looked at training records and shaken their heads. They did not know what meditation was. They did not know why breath control mattered. They saw a young woman from a small planet and they expected nothing from her. That was fine with, she did not need their respect, not yet. General was the only one who knew the truth. He was an old with scars across his face and one missing arm. He had fought in the Great War against the machine armies, and he had seen humans fight. He never spoke about it. When the other instructors laughed its training methods, he stayed silent. When the cadets mocked her, he watched with knowing eyes. He remembered what he had seen. He remembered the fear. Later that day, the cadets gathered in the main training arena. It was a huge room with high ceilings and walls made of reinforced metal. Targets and obstacles filled the space. This was where they learned to fight. The head instructor, a named commander, stood at the front. She was tall and strict, with cold eyes that missed nothing. "Today we will practice squad combat," she announced. "You will be divided into teams of 5. Each team will face a series of combat drones." The cadets looked excited. Combat training was their favorite. It was a chance to show off their skills. "Form your teams," Commander ordered. Immediately, the cadets began grouping together. Friends found friends. Strong soldiers found other strong soldiers. Within minutes, everyone had a team. Everyone except. She stood alone in the middle of the arena. No one had asked her to join. No one wanted the weak Earthborn on their team. Commander noticed this. Her expression did not change, but there was a flicker of something in her eyes. Disappointment, maybe, or perhaps she had expected this. "Cadet," she said, "you will join Team 7. Team 7 was team. The face twisted with anger when he heard this. Commander, with respect, said, "She will only slow us down. We do not want her." "I did not ask what you want," Commander replied. "She is on your team, make it work." Glared at as she walked toward his group. His teammates looked equally unhappy. They moved aside to let her join, but they did not welcome her. "Stay out of our way," whispered to her. "Do not ruin this for us." Nodded once. She had no intention of ruining anything. But she also had no intention of staying out of the way. In the corner of the arena, General watched silently. His old eyes followed as she took her place with Team 7. He saw the way she stood. He saw the way she breathed. He knew what was coming, and a small, grim smile crossed his face. The other cadets had no idea what they were about to witness. The combat drones rose from hidden panels in the floor. They were silver machines shaped like insects, with 6 legs and glowing red sensors for eyes. Each drone carried small plasma cannons on its back. They were training weapons, set to stun mode, but getting hit still hurt. A lot. Commander stood on an elevated platform above the arena. She held a control tablet in her hands. Her voice echoed through speakers built into the walls. "The exercise is simple," she said. "Survive for 15 minutes, disable as many drones as you can. The team with the highest score wins." She paused and looked down at the cadets. "Begin." The drones activated all at once. Their red eyes glowed brighter and they began to move. They were fast, faster than any living creature. They scattered across the arena, searching for targets. Immediately took command of Team 7. He was the biggest and the loudest, so no one questioned him. "Spread out," he ordered. "Find cover, shoot anything that moves." His teammates obeyed. They ran to different positions around the arena, hiding behind metal barriers and broken walls. They raised their plasma rifles and waited. Did not move. She stood in the open, watching the drones. "What are you doing?" shouted at her. "Find cover, you fool." "No," said quietly. Her voice was calm. No, could not believe what he was hearing. "Are you trying to lose? Get behind something." But stayed where she was. She closed her eyes and took a slow breath. Her body relaxed. Her shoulders dropped. She looked like someone about to fall asleep. The other members of Team 7 stared at her like she was insane. "Forget her," one of them said. "She wants to get hit, let her get hit." They focused on the drones instead. The first wave of machines attacked from the left side of the arena. They moved in a perfect line, their plasma cannons charging with a high-pitched whine. The cadets opened fire. Blue plasma bolts filled the air. Some hit their targets. Drones exploded into pieces of metal and sparks. But more drones came. They came from the right. They came from above. They dropped from the ceiling and crawled out from hidden tunnels in the walls. "There are too many," a cadet named shouted. He was a young with nervous eyes. He fired his rifle again and again, but for every drone he destroyed, two more appeared. Growled in frustration. He was a good shot, and his 4 arms let him handle 2 rifles at once, but even he could not keep up with the swarm. "Fall back," he commanded. "Form a defensive circle." The team tried to regroup. They ran toward the center of the arena, shooting as they moved, but the drones were learning. They watched the cadets' movements. They predicted their patterns. They began to dodge the plasma bolts. One drone got through the team's defenses. It fired at. The stun bolt hit him in the chest, and he dropped to the ground with a cry of pain. His body twitched as the electric shock ran through him. "Is down," someone shouted. More drones pressed their attack. Another cadet fell, then another. Looked around in panic. His team was being destroyed. They had only been fighting for 3 minutes, and already half of them were on the ground. "This is impossible," he said. "The difficulty is too high. This must be a mistake." But it was not a mistake. Commander had set the difficulty this way on purpose. She wanted to see how the cadets would handle pressure. She wanted to find their breaking points. And she found them quickly. Only and one other cadet were still standing. They pressed their backs against a metal barrier, firing desperately at the swarm of drones surrounding them. Their plasma rifles were overheating. Their arms were tired. "We cannot win," the other cadet said. His name was, and fear filled his voice. "We have to surrender." "Do not surrender," snapped, but even he knew they were finished. And then he remembered. He looked toward where she had been standing. He expected to see her lying on the ground, stunned like the others. He expected to see drones standing over her broken body. Instead, he saw something he did not understand. Was still standing. Her eyes were still closed. She had not moved from her spot since the exercise began, and somehow, impossibly, not a single drone had attacked her. The machines moved around her like water flowing around a stone. They passed within inches of her body, but they never fired. They never even looked at her. "What?" he whispered. "What is happening?" He forgot about the drones around him. He forgot about his rifle. He simply stared at the human girl who stood perfectly still in the middle of chaos. On the platform above, Commander leaned forward. Her eyes were wide with confusion. She checked her tablet, looking at the drone sensor data. According to the machines, there was no one standing where stood. Their heat sensors detected nothing. Their motion trackers saw nothing. To the drones, did not exist. "That is not possible," Commander murmured. General stood beside her. He was not surprised at all. His face showed no emotion, but his eyes were sharp and focused. "She has slowed her heartbeat," he said quietly. "She has lowered her body temperature. She is controlling every muscle, every breath, every tiny movement. The machines cannot find her because she is not giving them anything to find." Commander turned to look at him. "How do you know this?" "Because I have seen it before," the general replied. "During the war, I fought beside humans in the Battle of Red Station. I watched them walk through fields of sensor mines without triggering a single one. I watched them stand in front of killing machines and become invisible." He paused, his voice dropped even lower. "They called it the still death, the ability to become nothing, to erase yourself from existence while still being alive." Down in the arena was hit by a stun bolt. He fell to the ground beside. The drones had finished with Team 7. All except. She finally opened her eyes. She looked around at her fallen teammates. She looked at the drones circling the arena, and slowly, very slowly, she began to move. She walked through the swarm. Drones flew past her, around her, over her. None of them reacted. She was a ghost walking among machines. She reached first. He was still conscious, lying on his back with pain in his eyes. He looked up at her with confusion. "How?" he tried to ask. Did not answer. She bent down and picked up his fallen rifle. She checked the power cell. It was still half full. Then she lifted her other hand. She pressed her palm against his chest, right over his heart. She closed her eyes for just a moment. Felt something. Warmth spread through his body. The pain from the stun bolt faded. His muscles relaxed. His mind cleared. "Get up," said. "We are not finished." She moved to the next fallen cadet and did the same thing. Then the next. One by one, she brought her teammates back to their feet. She gave them energy from her own body. She shared her strength with them. The drones continued their patrol. They still could not see her. When Team 7 was standing again, they looked at with new eyes. The mockery was gone. The contempt was gone. Now there was only wonder. "What are you?" asked. His voice was barely a whisper. Looked at him. For the first time, there was something like a smile on her face. "I am human," she said. "Now stay behind me. I will show you what that means." She turned toward the drones. She took another deep breath. And this time, when she lifted her hand, the machines finally noticed her. But by then, it was already too late for them. The drones turned toward all at once. Their red sensors locked onto her position. Their plasma cannons began to charge. The machines had finally found their target, and they would not let her escape. But did not run. She did not hide. She simply stood there with her hand raised, palm facing outward. Her breathing was slow and steady. Her eyes were completely focused. Grabbed his rifle and aimed at the nearest drone. "Get back," he shouted at. "They will destroy you." Ignored him. She was listening to something else now, something deep inside herself. A rhythm that humans had learned to hear thousands of years ago, the rhythm of life itself. On Earth they called it Kai, or prana. Different cultures had different names for it, but they all knew it existed. It was the energy that flowed through every living thing, the spark that separated life from death. Most species in the galaxy had forgotten this energy. They had built machines to do their work. They had created weapons to fight their battles. They had lost touch with their own bodies, their own power. But humans had never forgotten. The first drone fired. A bright blue plasma bolt shot towards chest. It should have hit her. It should have knocked her down. Instead, something impossible happened. The bolt stopped. It hung in the air about 2 inches from his palm. It trembled and flickered like a trapped insect. Then it simply disappeared, absorbed into her skin. The arena went silent. Every cadet, every instructor, every drone seemed to freeze in that moment. They had all seen what happened. None of them could believe it. "What was that?" whispered. His eyes were as wide as moons. More drones fired. 5 bolts, 10 bolts, 20. They came from every direction, a storm of blue light aimed at the small human girl. Moved her hand in a slow circle. The energy from her body expanded outward like an invisible shield. Every bolt that touched it was absorbed. Every shot was swallowed. The drones stopped firing. Their simple AI brains could not understand what was happening. Their weapons were useless. Their target was still standing. Lowered her hand. She took a step forward. The nearest drone tried to retreat. Its metal legs scrambled backward on the floor, but was faster. She reached out and touched its sensor array with 2 fingers. There was a flash of light, a soft sound like paper tearing, and then the drone collapsed. Its eyes went dark. Its legs stopped moving. It was dead. Moved to the next drone, and the next, and the next. She did not hit them. She did not shoot them. She simply touched them and they died. The energy from her body flowed into their circuits and overloaded everything. Their batteries exploded. Their processors melted. Their weapons fell silent. The other teams had stopped fighting. They stood and watched as walked through the swarm alone. She was beautiful and terrifying. She moved like water. She struck like lightning. In less than 2 minutes, she had disabled 30 drones. Commander gripped the edge of her control tablet. Her hands were shaking. She had trained soldiers for 20 years. She had seen the best warriors in the galaxy. She had never seen anything like this. "General," she said, her voice was not steady. "What is she?" General did not answer immediately. He watched move through the arena with an expression that might have been pride, or might have been fear. "She is what all humans can become," he finally said. "If they train hard enough, if they push their bodies far enough. She has learned to control the bioelectric field that surrounds all living creatures. She can focus it, shape it, use it as a weapon." "But that is," Commander searched for the right word, "that is impossible. Our scientists have studied the bioelectric field for centuries. It is too weak to use for combat. It cannot be focused with that kind of precision." "Your scientists are wrong," General replied. "Humans proved that during the war." Down in the arena, the drones had started to adapt. They were learning machines, designed to find solutions to problems. They realized that attacking directly did not work, so they changed their strategy. Instead of shooting at her, they began shooting at her teammates. Barely dodged a plasma bolt that came from behind. He spun around and fired back, destroying the drone that had attacked him. But 3 more took its place. "They are targeting us," shouted. "They are using us as distractions." The drones were smart. They knew would try to protect her team. They knew she could not be everywhere at once. So they spread out across the arena, surrounding the cadets, forcing to choose who to save. Sara, the female who had told to leave alone earlier, was cut off from the group. 5 drones surrounded her, their weapons charged. "Help!" she screamed. Turned toward the sound. She was too far away. She could not reach Sara in time. Or so everyone thought. Pressed her feet against the floor and pushed. Energy exploded from her legs, launching her forward like a rocket. She crossed the arena in a single second, moving so fast that she left a trail of light behind her. She arrived just as the drones fired. She threw herself in front of Sora, arms spread wide. The plasma bolts hit her back, one after another after another. Sora screamed again, certain that was dead. But when the smoke cleared, the human was still standing. Her uniform was burned. Her skin was red and damaged, but she was alive. And she was angry. Spun around. Her hands were glowing now, not with reflected light but with actual energy. It poured from her skin like fire, blue and bright and terrible. She slammed her palms together. The shockwave that followed destroyed everything within 20 meters. Drones were torn apart like toys. Metal fragments flew through the air. The floor cracked and shattered. When the dust settled, there was a circle of destruction around. In the center, she stood with Sora behind her. Around them, nothing but broken machines and silence. Sora was crying, not from fear but from something else, something she did not have words for. "You saved me," she whispered. "Why, we were cruel to you, we mocked you, we made your life terrible." Turned to look at her. The anger had faded from her eyes. Now there was only exhaustion. "You are my teammate," said simply. "That is enough." She stumbled. The energy blast had taken everything she had. Her body was running on nothing now. Her vision was going dark. Caught her before she fell. His 4 arms wrapped around her, holding her up. He looked at her face with an expression of total shock. "Why did you not tell us?" he asked. "Why did you let us mock you? You could have destroyed us at any moment." Smiled weakly. "That is not the human way," she said. "We do not prove ourselves with words, we prove ourselves with actions." She passed out in his arms. The arena was silent. Every cadet from every species stood completely still. They looked at the unconscious human girl and the circle of destroyed drones around her. They had called her weak. They had called her primitive. They had laughed at her training and mocked her planet. They would never make that mistake again. Above the arena, General finally allowed himself to smile. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret, a terrible, wonderful, frightening secret. Humans were not weak. They had never been weak. They had simply been waiting for the right moment to show their strength. And now that moment had come. Woke up in the medical bay. White lights buzzed above her head. Machines beeped softly beside her bed. Her body ached in ways she had never felt before. She tried to sit up, but a hand gently pushed her back down. "Rest," General said. He sat in a chair beside her bed, his old face watching her carefully. "You use too much energy. Your body needs time to recover." Blinked at him. How long was I asleep? 14 hours. She closed her eyes and sighed. 14 hours. Her teachers on Earth had warned her about this. Using too much Chi at once was dangerous. It could damage the body permanently. Some humans had died from pushing themselves too far. "The cadets," she said, "are they okay?" "They are fine, thanks to you." General leaned back in his chair. "You saved 5 lives today, possibly more. Commander has already written her report. The Academy Council will want to speak with you." Felt a knot of worry in her stomach. Am I in trouble? Trouble? The general made a sound that might have been a laugh. "No, child. You are not in trouble, but you have caused quite a problem." He stood up and walked to the window. The medical bay looked out over the twin stars of the system. Their light painted his face in gold and silver. "For 300 years," he said slowly, "the Galactic Council has believed that humans are a minor species, weak, harmless, useful for simple labor but nothing more. They allowed Earth to join the Alliance because they thought you needed protection." He turned to look at her. "Today you showed them the truth, and the truth will frighten them." Did not understand. Why would they be frightened? I only defended my teammates. I did not hurt anyone who did not attack first. That is exactly why they will be frightened. General walked back to his chair and sat down heavily. Though the Taurans, all the great powers of the galaxy, they have built their strength on technology, ships, weapons, armor. They can measure each other's power by counting ships and guns. He pointed at her. "But you cannot be measured. You have no ships, you have no guns, you have only your body and your training. And somehow that body destroyed 100 combat drones in minutes." Was quiet for a moment. 100, I thought there were fewer. The final count was 117. More than any cadet has ever defeated in a training exercise. More than most teams have ever defeated together. She looked at her hands. They were bandaged now, wrapped in white cloth that glowed faintly with healing energy. She could still feel the power inside her, but it was weak. A tiny flame where there had been a bonfire. "I was not trying to show off," she said quietly. "I was just trying to survive." "I know," General's voice was gentle. "That is what makes you dangerous. You were not even at full power. You were holding back, protecting others, trying not to kill. And still, you destroyed everything in your path." He leaned forward. "The Council will ask questions. They will want to know how many humans can do what you did. They will want to know if Earth has been hiding an army of warriors like you. They will wonder if humanity is planning to conquer the galaxy." His eyes went wide. "That is crazy. We would never do that." "I believe you, but fear makes people think crazy things," the general sighed. "I have seen it before. During the war, when humans first showed their true abilities, many of my people wanted to destroy Earth completely. They said it was too dangerous to let humans live." "What stopped them?" "The war ended, the machines were defeated, and people forgot." He shook his head. "But they will remember now, because of you." A soft knock came from the door. Before either of them could answer, it opened. stepped inside, followed by Sara, and the four cadets stood awkwardly near the entrance, not sure if they were welcome. General stood up. "I will leave you with your teammates," he said "but remember what I told you, be careful. The galaxy is watching you now." He walked past the cadets without looking at them. The door closed behind him. Silence filled the room. Looked at the four aliens who had mocked her, insulted her, and refused to accept her. They looked different now. Smaller somehow, less sure of themselves. Stepped forward first. His four arms hung at his sides. His head was bowed. "I came to apologize," he said. His voice was rough, like the words were hard to speak. "I was wrong about you. I was wrong about humans. I treated you like dirt, and you saved my life anyway." He dropped to his knees. All four of his hands touched the floor in front of him. It was the deepest form of apology in culture. It meant total surrender, total shame. "I do not deserve your forgiveness," continued, "but I had to try." Stared at him. She had never expected this. Not from him, not from anyone. "Get up," she said. Stayed on his knees. "Not until you say the words. Not until you tell me I am forgiven or condemned." Swung her legs over the side of the bed. Her body screamed in protest, but she ignored it. She walked to and stood in front of him. Then she did something that shocked everyone in the room. She knelt down too. She lowered herself to his level so they were face to face. "On Earth," she said, "we do not believe in permanent enemies. We believe that anyone can change, anyone can grow, anyone can become better than they were." She placed her hand on his shoulder. "You were cruel to me, that is true, but cruelty does not have to define you. What matters is what you do next." Looked up at her. His eyes were wet, rarely cried. It was considered a weakness in their culture, but tears ran down his blue face now. "How can you forgive me so easily?" he asked. "Because I choose to," replied. "That is the human way. We choose our feelings. We choose our actions. We are not slaves to our past. We are masters of our future." Sara stepped forward. She was crying too. "You threw yourself in front of plasma bolts for me. You took the pain that was meant for me. Why?" "Because that is what teammates do," smiled at her. "We protect each other. No matter what happened before, no matter what might happen next. In the moment of danger, we stand together." And moved closer. The young cadets looked at with something new in their eyes. Not fear, not pity, something deeper. "Respect." "Teach us," said suddenly. "Teach us what you know, the meditation, the breath control, the energy techniques. We want to learn." Hesitated. "The training is hard, it takes years, and it hurts more than you can imagine." "We do not care," said. "We saw what you could do. We want to be strong like that, strong enough to protect others, strong enough to face anything." Looked at each of them in turn. These were the same cadets who had laughed at her training methods, the same ones who had called human techniques primitive and useless. Now they were begging her to teach them. "Okay," she said finally. "I will teach you, but you have to promise me something." "Anything," said. "You have to promise to use this power only for protection, never for conquest, never for cruelty. The energy of life is not meant to destroy, it is meant to defend." The four nodded together. "We promise," they said in unison. Smiled. For the first time since she had arrived at the academy, she did not feel alone. She had enemies who had become friends. She had doubters who had become believers. And somewhere out there, the galaxy was watching, wondering what humans would do next. Did not know the answer yet. But she knew one thing for certain. They would face it together. 3 months passed. The season changed on the stations. The twin stars shifted in the sky and trained her new students every day. Learned the slowest. His aggressive nature made it hard for him to find inner peace, but he never gave up. He sat in meditation for hours, his 4 hands resting on his knees, trying to feel the energy that had shown him. Sora learned the fastest. She had a natural talent for breath control. Within weeks, she could slow her heartbeat to half its normal speed. Her body temperature dropped when she wanted it to. The instructors began to notice her improvement and fell somewhere in between. They struggled, they complained, they wanted to quit, but they kept coming back. Every morning, they gathered in quarters for lessons before the official training began. Word spread through the academy. Other cadets started asking questions. They wanted to know what was teaching. They wanted to learn too. Some of them had mocked her in the beginning. Some of them had called human techniques useless. Now they lined up outside her door, hopping for a chance to train with her. The Academy Council noticed. They called to a meeting where 12 representatives from 12 different species sat around a curved table. They asked her about her abilities. They asked about Earth's training programs. They asked if she was building an army. Told them the truth. She was just one person sharing what she knew. She had no plans for conquest. She only wanted to help. The council did not fully believe her, but they could not prove otherwise. They let her continue teaching, though they watched her closely. General stayed silent through all of this. He observed from the shadows, never interfering, never commenting, but sometimes caught him watching her with that strange expression on his face. Pride mixed with worry, hope mixed with fear. Then the attack came. It happened on a quiet night when most cadets were asleep. Alarms screamed through the station. Red lights flashed in every hallway. Commander's voice echoed from every speaker. Emergency, all personnel to battle stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Was awake instantly. She had been meditating, her body light and her mind clear. She pulled on her uniform and ran out of her quarters. The hallways were chaos. Cadets and instructors ran in every direction. Some carried weapons. Some carried nothing at all. Fear filled the air like smoke. Found near the main training arena. His forearms held 2 plasma rifles, and his face was pale with terror. "What is happening?" she asked. "Rogue AI ships," he said. "A whole fleet of them. They came out of nowhere. They already destroyed the outer defense stations. They are heading for the academy." Felt her heart sink. Rogue AI ships were remnants from the Great War. They were machines that had broken free from their creators and now roamed the galaxy, destroying anything organic they encountered. They had no mercy, no fear, no weakness. "How many ships?" she asked. 17. His voice cracked. "The largest fleet ever seen since the war ended. They have enough firepower to turn this station into dust." More cadets gathered around them. Sara appeared, along with other students from other teams joined the growing crowd. They all looked too, waiting for her to tell them what to do. But what could she do? She was one person, one human with strange training and unusual powers. She could not fight a fleet of warships. Could she? General pushed through the crowd. His old body moved with purpose, his one arm swinging at his side. He stopped in front of and looked into her eyes. "They are targeting the main reactor," he said. "If they destroy it, the whole station explodes. Everyone dies. 20,000 cadets, 5,000 staff, gone." "Can we evacuate?" asked. "No time. The escape pods are on the far side of the station. The AI ships will reach us in 4 minutes." 4 minutes? That was nothing. That was barely enough time to run down a hallway. A young cadet pushed forward. His name was Minu, and he was only 16 years old. Tears streamed down his face. "We are going to die," he sobbed. "There is nothing we can do. We are all going to die." Panic began to spread. Other cadets started crying too. Some fell to their knees. Some screamed. Some simply stood frozen, unable to move or think. General grabbed Minu by the shoulders. "Get control of yourself," he ordered. "Fear helps nothing. We need clear minds." But even as he spoke, his own voice trembled. The general had seen many battles. He had faced death more times than he could count. But this was different. This was the end. Or so he thought. stepped away from the crowd. She walked toward the large window that looked out into space. The twin stars shone in the distance, and beyond them, getting closer every second, 17 shapes of metal and death. She placed her hand against the glass. She felt the cold touch her skin. She closed her eyes and reached deep inside herself. All her life she had trained for moments like this. All those years of meditation, all those hours of pain endurance, all those lessons about controlling the energy of life. Her teachers had told her stories. Stories about humans who could do impossible things. Stories about warriors who had moved mountains with their minds. Stories about monks who had touched the stars. She had never believed those stories completely. She had thought they were exaggerations, legends grown larger with each telling. Now she would find out if they were true. She opened her eyes and turned to face General. "I need everyone to move back," she said. Her voice was calm and quiet. "I need as much space as possible." The general looked at her with confusion. "What are you planning?" "Something I have never tried before, something that might kill me," she paused. "But if it works, I can save everyone." "No," stepped forward, his face twisted with concern. "You cannot sacrifice yourself. There has to be another way." "There is no other way," she smiled at him, at all of them. "This is what I trained for. This is why humans developed the old way, not to fight in arenas, not to impress aliens, but to protect life, all life, no matter the cost." She looked at General one last time. "Tell Earth what happened here. Tell them I did my duty." Then she turned back to the window and lifted her hand. General understood. He finally understood what he had seen during the war, what humans were truly capable of. He turned to the crowd of terrified cadets. He saw their fear, their hopelessness, their certainty that death was coming. "Move back," he commanded. His voice was strong now. "Everyone move back, give her room." "But General," Minyu said, "what is she doing? How can one person stop a fleet?" General looked at the young cadet. He looked at all the young faces staring at him, waiting for an answer, and he gave them the only words that made sense. "Pray," he whispered. "Pray to whatever gods you have and watch." Breathed in, she breathed out. She gathered every piece of energy in her body, every spark of life, every fragment of power she had ever touched. It hurt more than anything she had ever felt. Her blood boiled in her veins. Her bones cracked under the pressure. Her skin began to glow, brighter and brighter, until she shone like a small sun. And then she released it all. The energy burst through the window, through the hull of the station, out into the void of space. It expanded in a sphere of pure light, traveling faster than thought, faster than time itself. The rogue AI ships never saw it coming. They had no sensors that could detect life energy. They had no shields that could stop it. The wave hit them like a divine hand, overloading their circuits, melting their cores, turning metal into fire. One by one, the ships exploded. Silent explosions in the darkness of space. 17 suns blooming and dying in seconds. When the light faded, there was nothing left. No ships, no threat, only stars and silence. In the station, the cadets stared in disbelief. They had watched death approach. They had watched it vanish. And in the center of it all stood a human girl, glowing like an angel, her hands still raised toward the heavens. Collapsed, her body had given everything. There was nothing left. Caught her before she hit the ground. He held her in his 4 arms, tears streaming down his face. "She is still breathing," he said. "She is alive, she is alive." The crowd erupted in cheers. Cadets hugged each other. Instructors wept openly. Even Commander, the coldest officer in the academy, had tears in her eyes. General walked to where knelt within his arms. He looked down at the unconscious human girl who had just saved 25,000 lives. "I told you," he said quietly, "I told you to pray." He knelt beside her and placed his hand on her forehead. "Thank you," he whispered. Thank you for reminding us what strength truly means. Did not hear him. She was deep in dreams, far from the station and the stars and the war. But somewhere in those dreams she smiled. She was human. And that was enough. The galaxy would never forget what happened that night. The story spread to every corner of known space. They spoke of the Earthborn girl who destroyed a fleet with her bare hands. They spoke of the power that humans had hidden for so long. And they spoke of the words that General had said just before the miracle happened. Pray. Because when a human lifted her hand, even the gods held their breath.